We're on our let me start over. We're on our new unit now, which is Unit 3 of Benchmark, and this unit is called Observing Nature. So we're going to focus on nature and animals we see in nature. So this first text we're going to look at is called A Bird's Free Lunch. So remember, skillful readers preview a text before they read. So just looking and skimming through this page, what do you notice? Well, I noticed right away that there is a picture of some birds, so that's probably what this text is going to be about. But I also noticed down here at the bottom, there's this thing called a footnote. It's different font size, and you see it's even a different color. And I see there's this little one by here, right here. And I also see there's a one right here. So to me, it's telling me these are probably connected. So this is actually giving me a definition. It's explaining something I may not know in the actual text. Now, on our first reading of this text, we're going to focus on understanding the key ideas and details and how they combine to form a main idea. So we're going to be doing this together while we watch this video. So let me zoom out so we can see the whole thing. And here we go. A Bird's Free Lunch, an excerpt from The Wit of a Duck and Other Papers. So remember, an excerpt means that it's a part of another text, but it's not the whole entire story. By John Burroughs. John Burroughs, 1837 to 1921, was a popular nature writer whose essays helped start the conservation movement. He was best known for his essays about birds, flowers, and rural scenes observed from his home in the Catskill Mountains of New York. Of his beloved home, Burroughs said, "Those hills comfort me as no other place in the world." So this introduction tells me something about the writer. Based on the introduction and the title, I know the text is going to be about birds. One winter, I fastened pieces of suet and marrow bones upon the tree in front of my window. Then I sat at my desk and watched the birds eat their free lunch. The jays bossed the woodpeckers bossed the chickadees, and the chickadees bossed the kinglet. So we have here the jays bossed the woodpeckers bossed the chickadees, and the chickadees bossed the kinglet. These are details that tell me something about how the birds interact as they eat. So I'm going to underline these details. Since our focus is going to be on birds, this is telling me how birds act and how they behave. The kinglet was the least of all, a sort of hop-o'-my-thumb bird. He became quite tame, and one day alighted upon my arm as I stood leaning against the tree. I could have put my hand upon him several times. I wonder where he roosted. He was all alone. I liked the fair so well that he seemed disposed to stop till spring. During one terrible night of wind and snow and zero temperature, I feared he would be swept away. I thought of him in the middle of the night, when the violence of the storm kept me from sleep. So here I have this word, this hop-o'-my-thumb bird. I don't know what it means, but when I look down here, it's telling me that little one is its definition. So a hop-o'-my-thumb means it's very small. So this is a very small bird. The reference is the folktale character Tom Thumb, who could fit in the palm of a person's hand. So, by focusing on the key details I have so far, I can figure out what the main idea is. So, what is our main idea? So far, the text is a description of some birds that the writer is watching as they share a bird feeder. So, I'm going to put that in my notes on the side. So here we go. I'm going to shrink it and then make it bigger. So as I read this next paragraph on the next page and then the final paragraph, I want to see if I'm learning more information about these birds. Now, what did I see in this paragraph too? For some key ideas? Well, I saw that it says least of all. So it's telling me this one maybe isn't the most important bird. The kinglet was the least of all. Even though it has the word king in it, saying he's not very intimidating. There's also the terrible night of wind and snow and zero temperatures. So he's giving a description of what it's like outside. It's incredibly unfriendly. It's something that we probably wouldn't want to be in outside. And then it also says this, he feared the bird would be swept away. He's afraid this bird is going to be taken away from his roost, from his home. So, what do you think the author is imagining in this paragraph? And what is he worried about? So, he's probably imagining and worrying about this bird being swept away and not having a home. He's putting this food out for him. He's putting the pieces of suet, which maybe I don't know what that is, but we can find out, and marrow bones up in this tree. So it's not just regular bird food. He's given actually some really fancy bird food for them to consume. So let's go on to number 3 now. And while we're reading, I want to see what the main idea is, if it continues giving us information about these birds. Imagine this solitary atom in feathers drifting about in the great Arctic, out of doors and managing to survive. I fancied him one of my thick spruces, his head under his tiny wing, buffeted by wind and snow, his little black feet clinging to the perch, wishing that morning would come. So we have this bird again, and he's just imagining him trying to survive out there. The fat meat is fuel for him. This fat meat. I don't know what that is, because he didn't say he did fat meat, but it is connecting probably to maybe one of these two, because this is what he's put in. So maybe fat meat is either suet or marrow bones. It keeps up the supply of animal heat. None of the birds will eat lean meat. They want the clear fat. The jays alight upon it and peck away with great vigor, almost staying on tiptoe to get the proper sweep. The woodpecker uses his head alone in pecking, but the jay's action involves the whole body. Yet his blows are softer, not so sharp and abrupt as the woodpecker. So here we're getting some more description of these birds. The blue jay has a soft peck. It's not as abrupt, it's not as sharp or as hard as that woodpecker. Pecking is not exactly his business. So what did I learn from this section? Well, what I learned is that the author cares about birds and he worries about them. He's also explaining how the birds eat. So that's going to be my next portion that I'm going to write here. The author cares about birds and he's also describing how they eat. So let's make that a little bigger for us. And what are some other informational facts that he gives us on how they eat? Well, he's telling us what they want. They want clear fat. So that's one of the main things that they're eating, those main descriptions. He's also describing this little bird. He's wishing that morning would come. That's what's going to be a figurative language that we're going to talk about called personification. This bird wishing, because we don't know if birds really wish or not. Something people do. So look at all these descriptions that he's giving us of these birds. So that's really the main idea of this whole passage, is that the author cares about birds that he's watching as he gives them food on a bird feeder. So that is what our new unit is going to be about. It's going to be about animals and nature. I hope you guys are ready for our new unit.